Hey, this is Serena Vance. I'm one of the OBGYNs here at St. Bernard's, and I'm here to talk about pumps today. This is my third baby. He's 7 months old, and the one thing I can say is this has been my easiest ability to pump at work that I've ever had experience-wise. I've always found that pumping at work basically has been cumbersome, time-consuming, stressful, just trying to keep up with baby supply and finding time, even with breaks, to pump enough or long enough and get it all done. And so this time I'm using what's called the Willow, and it's completely hands-free. So there's other pumps that are kind of similar. There's the Freemie cups where you still have tubes and you can kind of get a battery pack pump, but sometimes the suction on those isn't great. Freemie cups do work really well if you can still use your main pump like your Medela or your Spectra, but then you're kind of weighed down by that big pump still, even if it's battery operated. There's two options for the complete, basically completely hands-free, and there's the Willow and the LV. They're pretty similar in how they function. This is the Willow, and basically what you do is it comes apart really easily. There's a bag that you place right in here, and I do have a bag that I can kind of show you guys. And it's pretty easy to put in. It looks like it's too big, but it really isn't. You just pop it in here, close it like this. You basically just push it down. There's these little tabs that you fit it under. Pop that together, and then you're basically placing this over. You want to center your nipple in here, placing it over, pushing it up, and then you press the start button and it starts suction. This is the first version of the Willow, and so it takes a little bit more practice because you can't see where your nipple is, but the 2.0, which is the newer version, this is completely clear and it's a little easier to learn how to place it. The stim session depends on how long it lasts based on your letdown. So at first it might be a little longer, and then as your breast gets used to it, letdown may be a little bit faster. But that's when it's probably the pump is its loudest, is in that stim phase. And then when it goes to suction, it's really quiet. I can put this on probably in about 2 minutes. I leave it on the full 25 minutes just because I'm seeing patients, I've done deliveries, I've done surgery, so I just leave it on the full 25, and I usually get between 6 and 8 ounces per pump. And so then I can take it off. As soon as it's done, the only thing is when it's done, it will light up blue, so if you're wearing like a light shirt, it might light up blue behind it. But when you're done, you just take it off. Well, you can get online to do the flip to finish, because you have to, there's always a little milk in here, and you have to basically slowly flip it, and it suctions all of that extra milk out. And then when that's done, you flip it back over, take it off. You just pull this out, flip out your bag, and then it's ready to go in your cooler or wherever you're storing it when you're at work. You don't have to worry about sealing it. You have to cut these to open so there's no leak from the actual bags. You just throw it in a bag and you're good to go. And then for washing, I just use soap and water for this. So hot water and soap, it takes about 30 seconds to wash it real quick. And then when I get home at night, I use the Medela sterile spray on it at the end of the night once a day. You shouldn't need to wash this at all. It shouldn't get wet. It's completely closed contained. You just have to be careful when you take off the flange that you don't drop any milk in it. The other great thing about Willow is they have great support. So they have tons of videos. It connects to an app on your phone, and it will tell you on your phone how much milk you got and how long you've been pumping each session. So you can pull it up and make sure that you're actually getting milk let down. So at first it's super helpful, because when you're first learning how to put the pump on, you may not be sure if you have it right, but if it starts registering that you're getting milk, then you know that you have it on and it's going well. I can tell you, I have never gone up above the first suction phase, and it has, I think, 5 or 6 levels, and I've never went above the first. It's got good suction, and you'll be surprised at how it feels a little bit uncomfortable when you first start using it, but you do get used to it. A lot of people, if you look online, will say that you get a lot more milk from Spectra versus your Willow or Medela. I think Spectra is a little bit better than Medela, but they'll say you get more. I think the difference is the Spectra, you can probably get more in a shorter period of time if you could pump the same equivalent frequency and time, if that makes sense. With the Willow though, you can pump more frequently, and it's easier to pump more frequently because it's not as time consuming. And so I have personally had way more flow and output and amount of milk than I've ever been able to get with my Medela or Spectra. Depending on your home situation, my mom cares for my son, so she texts me when she's feeding, I put my pump on. So I stay on schedule with my baby all through the day, and it doesn't really interrupt my flow, but more than 5 minutes. About 2.5 minutes to put on and 2.5 minutes to take off and wash each time I do a pump during the day. And so it's great for work, but it's also great for me for at home because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and sitting around with my pump, or even if I had my Freemie and I'm walking around with my big Spectra and I got tubes everywhere, it's just hard. It's hard to make dinner. It's hard to sit down and play games with the kids. And then the other thing I found super great is traveling. So I took this on my anniversary and we had a great time, and it didn't affect what I was doing at all. I ran in, I put my pump on, we did our normal stuff, and then it also fits in this tiny little bag, which is also my favorite thing. I don't have to carry around a huge bag. This is all I carry around for my pump, my supplies. I have a little cooler that I keep, but it's like this big that I carry around during the day. The only other probably negative is the bags are a little bit expensive. They do cost a little more than your standard bag. They go on sale though about every 3 or 4 months, so I usually just kind of gauge how much I need and I wait for a sale, and then I bulk buy. And so that makes it a little bit cheaper. But that will be the increased cost compared to like your Spectra or Medela or whichever bags that you typically use. Other than that, those are kind of the big things of what I really like about it. I have never made it this far without my supply, going below what my baby needs when I've started back to work, and I haven't had any problems with my supply doing it this way, and so I think that's really nice. And it also hasn't affected my patient care and the flow of my workday, and so I don't feel stressed about trying to get everything done or find a room or do all those things. That even if you have break times and availability to do it, it just makes this a lot less stressful. And I also think with the less stress, my supply also hasn't gone down, because if my stress level is high, I feel like my supply kind of peters out a little bit. I do still have the Spectra at home, and occasionally, like if I don't want to use my bags or I'm just sitting around for a long period of time, I'll do my Spectra. But I probably have used that maybe once in the last 30 days. I pretty much almost exclusively now use my Willow. And so that's kind of the ins and outs of it. I really think it's great, especially for active, busy moms. I think it makes life a lot easier pumping and a more enjoyable experience for pumping. If you're like me, you probably don't love to pump. You'd rather just breastfeed because it's faster. But if you need to pump, this is a great option. And I think it would make life a lot easier, especially if this is an option that you can do.